Well, you're with Bloomberg, Quint, and we're talking about India-China relationships once again. Remember, the standoff at Doklam is now continuing for over a month. But why it's important to talk about India and China today is because it's the first day of a two-day meet of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval with all his BRICS counterparts in Beijing. So Ajit Doval is going to meet his counterparts from Brazil, Russia and China in Beijing. The important part is, will he talk about Doklam or not? Let's just set a bit of a background about why we're talking about this issue right now and what's been happening in the last couple of days before Ajit Doval has arrived in Beijing. This is what the Foreign Minister of China has said just a couple of days ago, and he has claimed that senior Indian officials have openly stated that Chinese troops did not enter into the Indian territory. He's commented for the first time over the standoff between the troops from the two countries. Well, this rhetoric and this aggression has been building over the last few days as far as China is concerned, and we'll show you now what the Chinese Defense Ministry spokesperson said a few days ago, that China will safeguard its security interests at any cost. India should not leave things to luck and not harbor any unrealistic illusions. So all of these comments have been coming at a time when the Global Times, which is a Chinese newspaper, has been saying some pretty harsh things about Ajit Doval. They have said just a few days ago, on the 24th in fact of this month, they've called Ajit Doval one of the main schemers behind the current border standoff between Chinese and Indian troops. Now, why do we care what the Global Times is saying? Is because in China, the media is considered to be largely state-run. So what they say is largely presumed to be a voice of the Chinese government, or that they're saying things that the Chinese government can't officially say. So which is why it's important if the Global Times calls Ajit Doval one of the main schemers behind the Doklam standoff. So now what does it mean and what can Doval actually do in Beijing? I have with me Manoj Joshi. He is senior fellow distinguished fellow at the ORF, Observer Research Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Joshi. A lot of hopes pinned on Ajit Doval's visit in Beijing. Can he really do something? How crucial is it, and are we expecting too much?
Well, it's pretty crucial in the sense that Mr. Doval is the senior-most Indian who deals with China. Meaning he is the special representative of the Prime Minister of India, and he deals with his Chinese counterpart, who is also special representative, State Councillor Yang Jieqing. So these are the two senior-most people who deal with their for their respective countries, and so meeting as they are in these circumstances, I have no doubt that this subject will figure. And if the subject figures, how will you look at it? Meaning, obviously, they are not going to trade insults. This is a private conversation. They will obviously try to see some way out of the present impasse.
Okay, but you know, if there was a way out of the present impasse, would those options not have been discussed by now? Because here we have a situation where India is saying both sides must withdraw at the same time, and the Chinese are saying that Indian troops must withdraw first. So what really can Ajit Doval bring to the table?
Look, this is how these things are discussed. These things are not discussed in public. Meaning you don't go broadcast on the newspaper that Indians must withdraw first or Chinese must withdraw first. This is something which Mr. Doval and his Chinese counterpart, this is what diplomacy is all about. You find a diplomatic way of achieving, so both can say that we have won, both can declare victory. That is the essence of diplomacy, good diplomacy. And I think, I'm sure that that's what they will try and achieve. Just what the formula will be, that's very difficult to tell.
Okay, it's also, when you talk about diplomacy, it's also going to be quite a challenge for both the sides because of the public posturing, isn't it? We have External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, who's made a statement here in India. The Chinese side has also been very vociferous. So neither side can seem to have blinked first. And will that be a challenge for Mr. Doval in Beijing? Because he has to come back with something which works for the government here publicly as well.
Well, that's very much part of the deal in today's world with hyper-nationalism everywhere. There is a lot of public posturing. We have done it, the Chinese have done it. And so yes, the diplomats and officials of both countries have to take this into account. They have to take into account that they have domestic audiences. In the case of China, there's one other more important thing, which is that the Chinese are going in for their 19th party Congress. And very important for them to therefore not be seen as being weak before India and being strong. This party Congress comes once in 5 years. And so it's very important for the Chinese leadership to show that they are in command, that they have everything in control. So in some ways, it's more important for them. As it is, as far as we are concerned, there's no pressing issue. They are not occupying any Indian territory. So from that point of view, I can say that yes, certainly there is a tendency to play to the gallery. But I presume that seasoned officials like Mr. Doval and Yang Jiechi can find a way out of the problem.
So Doval meets with Xi Jinping as well. But do you think, you were mentioning earlier, the meeting with Yang Jiechi is the more important one?
Yes, because Yang is the man who actually deals with this. He knows the subject. He's been a special representative even for quite some time now. So the nuts and bolts, as it were, the specifics are with Yang Jiechi. But you know, the signal, obviously, whatever this is, goes right up to the leadership, and the signal will be from Mr. Xi Jinping. I mean, if Xi Jinping decides that no, he wants to press on with the confrontation, then there is nothing that Mr. Yang can do. So what I'm trying to say is that the meeting with Xi will be important, very important, but at the same time, it will be on the basis of something which a conversation he has already had with Yang Jiechi.
Okay, thank you so much, Manoj Joshi, for speaking with us. So all eyes on what Ajit Doval does in Beijing. But like Manoj Joshi was explaining to us, a lot of these meetings and discussions will be behind closed doors, not for public viewing. One can hope that they lead to some kind of thaw in the current situation on the border. Thanks so much for watching us on Bloomberg Quint.